Thanks to the wonders of big data, the city has new ways to keep track of problems, whether it's crime, unhealthy restaurants, or code violations in apartments. For the last category, you can find more information drawn from city inspectors and reports over 311. It's all made available through a tool called Rent Smart Boston. To explain how it works are Boston's Commissioner of Inspectional Services, William Christopher, and the city's Data and Engineering Manager, Maria Borisova. Thank you very much for being with us. First of all, I want to start with Maria about this whole big data phenomenon, all of these things that we click into 311, and why is it so important to be able to get some of this back?
Of course. So the city has a lot of data, and we look to open up as much of it as possible to constituents for a few reasons. One is I think it's important for constituents to understand how the city works and to gain some transparency about the inner operations. And as well, the other thing is it would help constituents make more informed decisions about their day-to-day lives. For example, the Rent Smart tool can help you have some data backing to where you would live. Or for example, we have restaurant inspection data to help you choose where maybe not to eat because of bad inspections. So we do have this data, and we'd like to open it up for everybody to use, as well as for people to be able to derive new insights from this data. So we're really looking for people to be educated on their choices.
Speaking with Commissioner Christopher, this time of year, a lot of people are going to be signing leases on apartments. They're shopping for apartments. So how can this tool help them?
Well, it's the platform that the mayor has put forward since his first taking office, is that our information is to be shared with the public. Every tool that we can make that makes it easy and comfortable for someone to be able to grab that data is really important. A lot of people will do this kind of research at night when the office is closed. As always, we always encourage constituents to call us because we will be able to help them. But this is a way that someone on the fly can go and take a look at what is currently going on in the apartment before they go in and even do a walkthrough.
Well, I imagine one thing potentially they could find in a given apartment is that a year ago or maybe 5 years ago there were complaints about some code violations. So take it from there. What does that mean?
Well, I think the real good thing is it becomes a real bargaining tool when they're talking to landlords, so that they can understand what the real history is, what the landlord's responsibility is, and their actions are on maintaining property as we go forward. And if there are systemic issues in the building, they'll be aware of it, and they'll be able to query the landlord about what he plans to do with it, or what their choice will be, whether even to go to look at the apartment.
Maria, in addition to what the inspectors log, you have other kinds of information that could be fed in. Give me an example. What other things could people find out through this tool?
Of course. So the three main data sources for this are the assessment data, which is the city's official assessment. So you can find out the year the building was built to see how old it is. You can find out, for example, how big it is, how many bedrooms there are, so you understand, maybe your apartment doesn't exist according to the city. That's something you would want to know. Another big piece is the 311 constituent report, so any sort of complaints from other residents, so noise violations, anything like that. And the third big piece is code enforcement, so trash, improper trash storage, maybe a rodent complaint, so anything in terms of violations to the building code as well.
So, Commissioner, conceivably, you can find out that this rooming house or fraternity house, as it's being portrayed to you, isn't officially registered as such. So what does that mean for a renter? What should a renter do when confronted with it?
I think one of the things is a lot of units are looked for online, and they're portrayed as a certain profile of a unit. This will be either able to contradict or support that the unit is actually what it is. It would be our hope that if students particularly are coming in and they're not familiar with the area, they'll get a little bit of insight to the area and the apartment that they're moving into, and that they reach out to us so that we can assist them. What does it mean that there's been a lot of trash violations written against the unit? To a student, they may still not understand it, but at least now we've put the question in their mind, and we're hoping that'll promulgate them to call us so that we can fill them in on what that means and what the importance of it is.
This is BNN News. We're talking with the Inspectional Services Commissioner, William Christopher, and the city's Data and Engineering Manager, Maria Borisova. Maria, I guess another thing that will happen very often when people use this tool, that they'll find there aren't any problems. So why is that so important?
As to why there's no problems?
Yes, to have a tool that can serve up that information.
I mean, transparency, for many reasons. If there's no issues, then it's great.
Commissioner, I guess a reason why there might not be any problems is the property owners are taking notice and they're going to prevent the problems.
Well, Chris, what we have seen, over the past 3 or 4 years is now property owners do know that we are looking. And, we saw such great success with the restaurant grading system, where everybody became involved in the process. And that's what we feel is very good about this program, is that the landlords themselves will see what their history looks like online as opposed to what they feel is the issue. And they know that we are looking and we are recording the data so that we're building a really good data set so that we can see trends of how landlords are treating properties or specific properties. So we think, as Maria said, it's all about transparency. The more data that we can share with our constituents, it's their city, the better we think that we're doing our jobs.
Maria, the city is putting some other data sets out there, and give us some hints. Any potential new things that may be coming down the line here?
So as I mentioned, the 3-in-1 interactive map, we're very excited about that. So you'll be able to look, if you're moving into a neighborhood, be able to open up a map and see, what happens near you on a map. It's great. And the other one that we're very excited about is Imagine Boston 2030 dashboarding. So Imagine Boston 2030 is a city's goals on things like education, housing, and we would like to make public our progress of how we're working towards those goals. So we're building out dashboards that'll be publicly accessible so you can take a look, what the city is actually doing. So it's a big step for us.
And for Rent Smart Boston, how do they get hold of that?
rentsmart.boston.gov.
All right, thank you both very much, Maria Borisova and William Christopher. Up ahead, closing the nutrition gap for residents of public housing.